Welcome back to another episode of Lucas, Tigers, and Bronzo Mayan. I feel fired up because we've got a lot of amazing content going on. I gotta say thank you to all the people that are supporting us with the collector series. People love it. People are having a great time. We're having a lot of people on our show the last week or so who aren't, the typical people who are creating content, as they should be. They're collectors. So wanted to give a shout out to those people. Cage, I do want to get into what you had to say about yesterday's episode with Oahu Sports Cards. If you had any reaction, maybe you don't. And then we'll get to the NBA season preview show. What do you say? Are you having fun?
I am. I can't believe that basketball is upon us. I got to tell you, I can't believe it. I can't believe how quickly basketball is back. We had a quick turnaround last year, and it seems like it's, it was the normal length this year, but boom, it is on us, man. It is. Go ahead.
I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know that this was tip off today until Saturday. Is that just because we're in the thick of things? We have baseball
there's a lot of stuff going on.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the markets. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world of alternate asset classes, right? You got Bitcoin, hit 63,000. You got Ethereum running. You got NFTs doing their thing. You got cards doing their thing, right? Everybody's prepping on cards for, for the basketball starting up. Baseball is firing on all cylinders, and even hockey started up. And I know what a huge fan of hockey you are, so that's kind of helping you pay attention, taking some of your attention away from basketball. But yeah, man, I mean, sure, it sneaks up on us. It really does.
I used to wonder. So when I was kind of in my mid-20s, I was watching a lot of YouTube content. Okay, I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn from entrepreneurs and business people that have built multi-million dollar businesses in the hundreds of millions. And I wanted to learn from them. And they always said this thing that kind of fascinated me because with free content, they always said, I'm talking to that one or two people in the room who are actually going to take what I have to say and apply it. And I was like, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to apply what they say, right? I'm not just here to listen. I want to actually improve. I want to use the things that they suggest to change. I always wondered, why is it such a small percentage of people use the resources available to be successful? And it wasn't until I started this podcast that I actually realized. And frankly, I always thought that our community, the community we're building in Luca Nation, was different. I thought that we were entrepreneurs by nature, right? I thought that we would never be victim mentality. I thought that we would not be, those people that would take offense. But I was sorely mistaken. So I'm speaking to our community and a lot of the fans that are new. This is not the following that I'm building. I'm not going to be building, and we're not going to be building a following of complainers, of victim mentality, of people who cannot use the resources available. I'll give you an example. This made me a little bit upset today, Cage. I posted a story saying we're doing an NBA preview show. We had hundreds of people watch that story. You could see 300, 400. Not a single person left a comment to say, hey, talk about this, or what do you think about this, or what do you think about the overseason total? Now, this isn't the first time. These are the same people that are complaining that PSA is shutting down, BGS isn't open, card prices are uncertain. And I'm going to let you guys know, you deserve to lose. You really do. With the lower engagement, with not taking active participation in what we're building and other content creators are building, you're going to lose. Because these opportunities, and not just our page, other content creators, respond to their comments, share their content, ask them questions and learn. Don't be a passive listener, be active. So that's it. That's my little bit rant, but it's actually just a call to action. It's a call to action to be better. It's a call to action.
You're on mute.
In the growth of the hobby and the sharing of the hobby. So, Cage, I don't know if that made sense, if you understand where I'm going with it. Maybe it was all over the place, but that was something that was on my chest and I wanted to share.
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's an interesting tie-in, somebody not commenting on a reel as opposed to somebody complaining or being complacent in the industry. It's definitely a leap, but I think what you're trying to say is that, what you're looking for people to do is kind of take the bull by the horns, right? And what we kind of are about is, sure, we love to help you, but imagine how well you can do if, in addition to us helping you, you were also out there trying to help yourself. So I get it. I understand what you're saying. I really do. Yeah, and I got to tell you, the 10 for 10 collector series, it's been a blast for me. We had some comments in our Discord yesterday about how, I'm a little quiet, but when I'm quiet, people, know that means that that the person has something to say, and it's 100% true. I love talking to collectors. I love hearing stories that I don't know. I love hearing stories that are not my own. I try not to. I'll step on a guest's toes if they're putting me to sleep. You guys know this. But if there's stories out there, if there's fun stuff out there going on, that I don't know, and I find myself almost in the listener role, thinking to myself, "Wow, this is going to be a good episode because I want to listen to what they're saying." That's good content, and I think it's I know you guys sometimes tune in to hear me make a fool of myself, and I do a good enough job. If you didn't watch the YouTube of that episode, I almost lit my eyebrow on fire, pretending I was lighting flames. So that was a fun one too.
What did you take from that episode? What did you, defamation in the beginning, we tried to set like a precedent. We're not here to bash anybody, but it was also interesting to have someone that was so close to Vegas Dave, a hobby.
Well, if somebody wants to tell stories of their own experiences, those are their facts, and they're just recounting, what has happened to them individually. I have no problem with that, right? Because that's their own life. They're telling stories of their own life, and if it happens to involve somebody else, that's fine as well. I mean, we are not here. I think I said that on the beginning episode. I don't look to bring anybody down. I mean, I will tell anybody who wants to hear it right now. There are many ways to make your light shine brighter. I don't believe one of them is blowing out somebody else's flame to make yourself look brighter, right? You got to work on, on making yourself shine bright on your own. Forget about what's going on with somebody else, right? We can all we can all shine bright like a diamond. No, seriously, man. We can all, we don't have to tear people down. But Oahu's, he's got a lot of years of a lot of great stories and his own personal information. And when somebody's telling, truthful stories of their own experience of what they've been involved in, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. They can tell their own stories. So yeah, man, I love it. I love the collecting stories. I love that even though he's a collector, he comes out and says, I don't have a PC anymore because I got to take the emotion out of it. Lesson that I'm sort of learning myself as we go along as well. I get emotionally attached to certain cards, certain players, and we're having some fun. I also put up a professionally edited video today on my post on my Instagram because I told you guys I was trying to post some more stuff. It was me videotaping my own television with a Patrick Mahomes throwing a completion to the other team after fumbling on the play. It was an impressive display by him. Fumbled snap, throw the ball directly to the Washington player.
It's going to be interesting, Cage.
Yeah.
So, do you know who the Chiefs play this week?
No, I can't wait. Who?
The Titans. I always think those like love triangles.
Yeah.
Are really interesting, right? Bills smashed the Chiefs. Titans scraped by the Bills, which I think is maybe the most rigged game in the history of games.
It was rigged?
It's not. I don't mean that, but like if you guys watch that game, I don't believe it's rigged. But if you're a bettor and you had money on the Bills, right? You knew from the beginning of the game that you were screwed.
Huh. Yeah.
Do you agree with that or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I found myself hoping, best case scenario, a magical cover like I got out of the Cowboys game. Like, okay, go tie.
But you knew it wasn't happening.
And then, yeah,
you knew just watching the game flow. You're like,
I was surprised that Buffalo didn't pull away. I mean, look, it is what it is. I mean, play calling be damned, and the like.
Do you know what was funny about that, Cage? So remember the last thing Oahu said was how the story about Vegas Dave, and he had two sports books. One was the public, right? The Joes.
Yep.
And the other was the Sharps. And when there were 75% of the money on the Joes were put on one team, they always went the other side. And what did they do? They sprinkled a little bit on what?
On the money line.
Do you know what percentage of people bet on the Bills last night?
Like 80%.
That's right. It's fascinating, no?
Yeah.
And how terrible was the final call on that drive? Like, how many drives did the Bills not score a touchdown when you were like, is he just missing wide
Right. They got
receivers
to
on
the 5
purpose?
and then it was a field goal. Got to the 5 and it was a field goal. There was a lot of that.
So anyway, interesting stuff. Where do you want to go? You know, I'll play the
NBA,
girl
man.
role.
We got.
You want to talk
Listen,
NBA?
I want to hear what you think about the NBA. I want to hear what you think is going to happen this NBA season. I mean, I already know you are a LeBron sexual. So, right? What'd you call them? You got a name for him. Bronze testicles.
sexual.
You got to take that out there anyway, right? So you think LA's winning because LeBron's the best athlete in the world, and you think it's going to be LeBron and the Lakers again. So, shoot, let me hear you.
Well, so I don't do monologues. It's shocking that 470 episodes in, you're like, all right, monologue time. But let's start off with this.
Fine, that's cool.
The Nets
how about
and the
this?
Lakers.
What are you interested in seeing? If you don't want a monologue, what are you interested in seeing? Can I tell you what I'm interested in seeing?
Yeah.
Giannis, is he going to build on it or is he going to collapse? LeBron, he's rested, motivated. What does he do? Kevin Durant, is he finally going to do something? What happens to the soap opera that is the Philadelphia 76ers? Are we going to get a resolution on that? I mean, like, there's so many great things to talk about. Can you pick one of them?
Sure. So let's talk about the saga for the Sixers. Let's start there. All right. Obviously, Ben is just there so he doesn't get fined, right? Like that old Marshawn Lynch line.
Yep.
But it's kind of becoming a disgrace and a distraction. It reminds me of like when you're 12 and 13 years old, you would always have that like pouty but really talented player on your team. Secrets out, I used to be that guy on some of my teams, so I know how to spot them.
Worst kept secret ever.
It's terrible. Like I remember looking at myself. I'm like, I can't believe I behaved like that. Someone should have slapped me upside the head, right? I wonder how much of today's politically correct cancel culture is involved in creating this scenario. Because honestly, and this is just my 2 cents, please don't cancel me. I think the team should beat the shit out of Ben Simmons. Like physical altercation, the best player on the team.
You wanted them to give him a code red?
No. I think they should come and straight up punch him in the face and then keep punching him. That would be my solution. And say, never come back here. You're not a part of this
violence
team.
Solves nothing. What are you advocating for here? Come on.
That's what true.
Is this true? Is this a hot take?
Swear to God. No, I don't think it's that hot. I'm an old school guy, man. I'm like a 1950s, 1960s guy. I'm not a social media guy. And that's just how I see life.
Are you going to follow this up by telling me Tyler Hero is going to win Sixth Man of the Year? Is that what you're going to do with the NBA? Okay. Okay, good. I wasn't sure how serious we were right now with the whole punch in the face. Sometimes I say things for laugh value. You actually want – so who? Pick someone on the team. You want Embiid to punch him in the face?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Let's go
Why
down the road.
Why is that funny? Dude, like that's how things used to get solved. Like not everything has to be so proper and HR driven. It looks so politically correct. Like he's not a distraction. Like that's just how things get solved, in my opinion. When
there
it
are
gets
a lot
to
of
this
things
point,
that used to be that are no longer the way they are now.
That's true.
I don't know about punching him in the face. What is that going to solve? Okay, so Embiid punches him in the face. Does he leave and get fined now? Like how does that advance the ball for the 76ers? You didn't think this one through, did you?
No, I did. Well, when you're saying advance the ball, this ball is flat. Let's call this ball's flat, the ball's done. We got to throw this ball away.
Okay. But he's not leaving because he needs them to trade him. And he's going to keep showing up whether he gets punched in the face or not because he's not going to get fined. Right? So he got punched in the face today. Tomorrow he shows back up with a bloody nose or a black eye.
Black eye.
What happens? Nothing. It hasn't done anything. It hasn't accomplished anything. It hasn't moved the franchise forward. It hasn't moved the situation forward. It doesn't advance the ball at all.
I've been on quite a few teams in my life.
Is he going to play for them? Like, are they going to play him?
We don't always know how things move forward. So when Jordan punched Steve Kerr, right? Like you watched that Last Dance thing.
Yeah.
I always say the quote, like people don't care how People don't care what you know until they know how much you care, right?
Okay, I like that.
And right now, there is power in uniting against the common enemy. Like, if I was America, like, to me, that's the common enemy is China. Like, we're so divisive within America. Our common enemy should be China, not each other. Again, with Ben Simmons, it could potentially unite this team. This guy never wanted to be on our team. He never wanted to buy into our culture. Screw him. We're going to show him. It could unite the core team against that one enemy, because I do believe he is an enemy.
Okay.
That's where I'm at with that. Because sometimes things don't get resolved politically correct. They don't get resolved in the media saying the right things. Sometimes a good schoolyard brawl resolves stuff. It does, Cage. And it's funny that a 31-year-old has to convince a 45-year-old of this, but it's the truth.
No,
Sometimes
I just don't see how. But I just don't see how it fixes anything. I mean, is it going to maybe make some fans feel better? Sure. Maybe make.
This is not a situation that's going to be fixed, though.
But then what? Then why punch him in the face? I mean, at least the Kerr Jordan thing, I get it. I mean, that was internal stuff. There wasn't Kerr wasn't leaving. Jordan wasn't leaving. There wasn't this like the battle here is really in front office and player, right? They're not on the same page.
No.
They're playing. No, who's the battle?
This is player versus an entire team, and the front office is just a part of the team.
Well, the player doesn't want to play for the organization anymore. Is what what I'm seeing, right? Is what he's saying. And the team doesn't want to play with him anymore either. He's quit on his team, which is fine. But then isn't it up to the front office to go out and get what you can get for him? I mean, obviously you're not negotiating in a position of strength, right? I mean, don't they go out? Don't they have to make a trade? Don't they have to find a trade partner and move him?
The trades that were presented were borderline ridiculous. You're trading D-level celebrity talent for. I think I saw somehow the Sixers were going to get Damian Lillard and Bradley Beal back in that trade. I mean, the trades that I saw that were presented were laughable.
Right, but isn't that on the front office? Now they're asking for too much. Isn't it sort of like what I told my fraternity brothers who were alone at 2 a.m. on Thursday nights and after hours? That if they don't want to be alone, they have to lower their standards. Isn't it sort of that kind of thing? Doesn't the front
lower
office
your standards, raise your average?
Doesn't the front office have to now ask for I don't know, Bowl?
Should we move?
Yeah, let's move. You want me to do this in question because you don't like monologues, right? So I'm going to do this. I don't like monologues. Ready? Prediction-wise. Tell me who wins MVP this year. And you can give me your 1, 2, and 3. Give me 3 people who are in the running and who actually wins it.
Curry, Durant, Giannis, Durant, in that order.
So you think Curry wins it? Giannis comes in second and Durant. You are throwing out Embiid and Luka, not even in the conversation of the top 3. Okay, cool.
Luka's going to have a down year, in my opinion.
All right. Let's talk about that. Why do you think that?
It's the same scenario that happened with James Harden. There was like a stretch in his Houston days where he had for like 2-3 years had to carry the team offensively. Mm-hmm. And people don't realize the physical toll and the mental toll that takes. I very much believe that Luka's going to have a down year. And a down year for Luka, I mean, if he was averaging 28, 8, and 8 last year, 28, 8, and 5, or 25, 8, and 5, like it's still going to be an incredible year. It might even be the same stats, but perception is it's going to be a down year. Embiid, I think it's very hard for a center to win. And especially a center that's
like the top 2 voters last year were centers, right? It wasn't Embiid and Joker and Embiid, weren't they like most of the season?
I don't think Joker is a center. So like I know he plays the center position, but he's a point center. Like he takes the ball up the court. He's a playmaker. He's a passer.
All right.
So yeah, he's a big man. But
rookie of the year, people think Jalen Green or Kate Cunningham. So there's not much conversation there, and we haven't even seen this guy play yet. So there's no real value in that, right? So how about defensive player of the year?
Pass. I don't know.
Pass. I mean, then just go with the chalk. Go with Rudy Gobert. 6th man of the year. Again, chalk. You gonna go? You don't want to say Tyler Hero. You want to go with Jordan Clarkson again?
I'm gonna go with Field. I'm gonna go Field. I don't think it's going to be
Okay.
any of those. I think it's going to be someone who we don't know who's going to be a sixth man, right? Like I could see some D'Angelo Russell having a good run at sixth man of the year, but I don't know if he's going to be in the starting lineup or not, right? Like
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I'm really big on the first half of the season on the Timberwolves because they have a lot of pieces and they're very young and athletic. So like I could see Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, Malik Beasley. I think they have a veteran. Is it Rubio's on that team now? I'm not totally sure, but I could see them being in the starting lineup and D'Angelo coming off the bench and putting up some big numbers.
Here's a fun one because
Some.
it's relevant for cards. People usually like to use this one as the guy they can invest in. Give me your MIP. Give me your most improved player this year.
Jordan Poole is going to be up there.
Okay. I'm surprised you didn't go with Jaren Jackson Jr. Stays healthy, and just staying healthy alone might be enough if he puts up a full season of legitimate numbers to win him MIP.
I think Jaren Jackson's going to be up there. So there was a good question. Manny asked us this through text. He said, over under 41.5 wins for the Grizzlies. And to me, I thought that was an easy under. I'm not a believer in this Grizzlies team. I know that's made us unpopular with a website designer out there who owns John Morant cards. So I apologize to him for that. But I'm not a believer in Ja. I think he's going to struggle. I don't think he shoots the ball well. He has a small frame. I'm not a big believer in this Grizzlies team. They have a lot of grit, right? Like we love gritty players, gritty teams. But talent-wise, I believe that there is a disparity. I do. I'm not a big believer in this Grizzlies team.
I agree. I don't think the Grizzlies make the playoffs. I think they're under 500 team this year. I agree with you entirely. MIP, let's talk about maybe Kevin Porter Jr., the guy I've mentioned a couple of times as a play, just because I think there's nobody else there. And, I think he's going to put up some pretty crazy numbers. Darius Garland, small, again, got to stay healthy. SGA seems like he's in this conversation every year as somebody who could potentially be most improved player status. I like Jaren Jackson Jr. also. I mean, the kid's got all the tools, all the size, all the ability. Give me your Western Conference. If you want to, tell me who's going to be in the Western Conference Finals. Like, who do you think are the two best teams in the Western Conference? Or you can give me, the best four, whatever it is.
Warriors. Suns.
Warriors-Suns. It's an interesting one.
People are underestimating the Suns. They're a good team. The Suns are a very good team.
The vast majority of experts have the Suns with a home playoff series. So most people are predicting the Suns anywhere from 2 to 4. The surprise there is the Warriors. The Warriors, I don't think many experts that I saw have the Warriors above, like a 3 seed. Most of them have them in the bottom half of the Western Division. They have them, with a road playoff series. And
yeah,
go ahead.
I always wonder about NBA, right? NBA is so much marketing as it is actual real life stuff. Like, why do they keep talking about the Nets and the Lakers being favorites? In reality, they're not the favorites. They're not. The Lakers haven't been very good, and they've shown that they can't mesh. And Carmelo and Russ are far from an addition. You don't know what that's going to be for them. You don't know how they're going to blend into that team. So there's no way you can say that this Lakers team has improved. And LeBron has been getting worse and worse and worse over the years. He's been playing less games. He's been more injured. And Anthony Davis is fragile. So I know the Lakers are the favorites out of the West. I just can't understand how, like, if you're just looking at X's and O's, how you could really say that about that team.
Well, they added a lot of good players. They added a lot of names also to the equation. But you're right, though. I think how are they going to play together is a very, very big question. Any surprises from the Western Conference? You got a team that you think is going to surprise?
They do have some names, and like really, it comes down to Cage. Just if we stay on the Lakers real quick, I mean, this is the guys I'm excited about: Kent Bazemore, Malik Monk, and Kendrick Nunn. I think those guys are serviceable, and Wayne Ellington. Wayne Ellington's a great 3-point shooter. So you're thinking, Andrew, why are you talking about those guys? Those are like 10th and 11th guys on the bench. But frankly, none of the other guys that have been brought in complement LeBron's game. I know Carmelo's become a better 3-point shooter, And I think that would be huge if he could continue catch and shooting. But Westbrook I could see him coming off the bench later in the year, right? Like how are him and LeBron going to work together? Whereas Malik Monk and Wayne Ellington and Kendrick Nunn, these guys are all shooters. They're young, they're athletic, they're slashers. They don't need a ton of the ball in their hands. That's where I'm actually excited about. If those guys could take the next step up, it could be huge for that team.
So the surprise team I have that could potentially make the playoffs in the West is the Timberwolves. You talked about them a little bit just because of the talent they have there and the whole deal. I'm not talking about them, having a crazy season or even making a deep run, but most people are not expecting them to do much. And I think that, they definitely have enough talent on the team to sneak in to the playoffs. And, at the expense of a team like the Grizzlies or Portland, those bottom dwelling teams that, the Pelicans, who I don't think are going to make the playoffs because they're going to be without Zion, maybe even the Clippers, if the Kawhi injury lingers, pretty long, and he doesn't really come back. The Clippers are a team that, best case scenario is looking at like a 7 or an 8 seed, I think. So a team like the Timberwolves could sneak in over one of those teams, I think. But yeah, I mean, interesting stuff. That's my surprise. I have a surprise team in the East also. How about a disappointing team in the West? Who do you have as like a team that disappoints? Because I think the Lakers.
Mavs. I mean, Lakers, yeah, but I beat up on them so much. Like, I don't think that they disappoint. This Lakers team reminds me of the Lakers team with Shaq, Kobe, Steve Nash, and Karl Malone. But imagine if it was Shaq and Kobe towards the end of their career. That's where I'm at with this Lakers team. So I don't think they're going to disappoint. I think they're going to be a top 4 seed, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you don't have them going to the finals of the Western Conference even. That's a disappointment. Like that already.
Yeah, I don't. But Mavs are another team that I think is going to be extremely disappointing. I think Jason Kidd is terrible as a coach, frankly. He doesn't inspire a ton of confidence, and I think they don't have talent. At the end of the day, talent wins, and Porzingis looks slow. He doesn't grab rebounds. He doesn't play big. He's limited to just shooting outside. And I don't know where they're going to get points from other than that. So Mavs and Luka. I think Luka's going to have a good year, but I think the Mavs disappoint a lot. And this is coming from Luka Nation, guys. So,
all right, let's move over to the East. Right?
Sure.
What are your thoughts on the East? Who makes it to the Eastern Conference Finals? Is it going to be Nets Bucks?
I think the Nets team implodes, man. I do. I really do, because this is what happens when you don't win. Like, winning cures all. You've heard sales cures all, right?
Yeah.
You've heard that. Winning cures all.
Yeah, they say winning's the best deodorant.
Yes. They've had some kind of like mirage of winning. They've underperformed, but they have a little bit of mirage. They were close. Kyrie got injured. I think this is the season where they implode. I just do. I don't think Durant is a good leader. I think he's too much in his own personality, ego. I think Harden is not a cancer, but he's not somebody that inspires confidence to build around. These are two guys who put up really good stats, who are incredible individual players, but it takes more than individual talent to win. I think this Nets team implodes this season.
So you don't have them going to the Eastern Conference Finals, huh?
No, I do not.
Nice. The Bucks, you think they're a shoo-in? Number 1 seed, they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. They've been winning the whole thing?
I do. I've said this for a long time, Gage. And this is what upset me today with like people's lack of engagement with our content. It's not like we're here just like a Joe Schmo show that charges people for picks and gives you guys terrible plays and stuff. I mean, I've given you Giannis. I told you guys the Bucks are going to win that championship. I've heard it all. Excuses are like assholes. We've all got one. And you guys made excuses for why this Bucks team has won the championship. But at the end of the day, they did. And I called that. And I said that they would win. And I said that Giannis is the person that stands to gain the most from that championship. And again, he did. 50-point games, 48-point games, just absolutely took the next step. But yet, again, there's the criticism. He can't shoot free throws.
I read an article in doing prep for this that said that Giannis last year had his Happy Gilmore learns to putt moment in last year's playoffs. And it was like, ooh, somebody learned how to putt. You know, like that Happy Gilmore.
I don't see the humor in it today.
What's he going to do this year now that he's put it all together? You know what I mean? What's he going to do to build on that championship performance? Because you're right. The narrative that people have is that it's a fake win. It's a fake championship. Everything broke correctly for him, right? That they were able to beat the Nets, but only barely, and only because the Nets didn't have Kyrie. They didn't have to play the big bad Lakers in the finals. You know, they got an easy one because everybody was injured, from Kawhi to the whole Laker team to look who they had to beat in the finals. And even then, you know, Giannis couldn't shoot a free throw to save his life, right? So if you're Giannis, don't you come into the season with like a bag of chips on your shoulder? Don't you come into this saying, all right, I mean, first of all, what else do I have to do? I just won a championship. I can't really do much more than that. You play the team that's in front of you, right? But second, you know, for his own legacy, what about repeating? You know, like repeating as a champ, doesn't that shut everybody up? Doesn't that send a message to everybody? I am the best player in the league right now, not the aging king. You know, not anybody else that's out there. No.
So what I've learned with personal growth and professional growth too, I have a huge chip on my shoulder. Like I sometimes it's a little bit too aggressive. It comes off like you could see today, right? That's a great motivator. But you know what's even better motivator? And I think Jordan got to this point. It was no longer about proving the haters wrong. We do see that. We see snippets of that. But you know what I think it is? It's your fulfillment of your own potential. I think that gets to a point. I think this is the true beauty, right? Because hating or, you know, kind of this aversion, like, oh, I'm better than that person, that's a slow burning fuel. But if you're constantly chasing how good you can be, and I believe that's where Giannis is, he's constantly evolving to be, how good can I be? Right. And that's why you see what happens with that is when you airball shots, you don't take it personally. It's not like, oh, look at all these guys. Now they're going to look and judge me. It's all right. I'm improving. Trust the process. I'm improving. And I think that's a scary place to operate from, because no longer are you competing with anybody else. You're competing with your own personal best. And what's exciting about that is I think Giannis's personal best is so much higher than we realize. I think we can see a run where he has 4, 5, 6 championships in the next 10 years.
Well, that's a pretty hot take. There's a lot of good players and a lot of good talent in the league. The NBA, especially out in the West, have a lot of good players. I mean, the East. Listen, if there's one thing that he'll have working for him, it's the same thing that I believe LeBron had working for him the entire time, and that's the East is the inferior conference. I know there are some good teams in the East, and some young teams that are getting better, but if the Nets implode the way you think they're going to implode, if the Nets don't play, the kind of ball that a full Nets team can play, who are the Bucks' biggest competition? A dysfunctional 76ers team, a Celtics team that seems to play good enough just to get there and lose, a young Hawks team, led by, Trey, who's, a step away from getting there. Is it the Heat? Who managed to, play out of their minds one time to knock them out. I mean, any of those teams could beat the Bucks on any given day. But is anybody really going to step up and say that any of those teams are better than the Bucks overall? I don't think so. Right? You could say, all right, the Hawks are going to surprise to the upside. But is anybody really going out there and saying that the Hawks take out the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals? No, I don't think anybody's saying that, not as they're currently constituted. So what the Bucks have and what Giannis has going for them is, the LeBron lovers who like to say, look how many times he made it to the finals in a row out of the East. Yeah, out of the East. Giannis has that same East working for him. And, some of the better players in the East have now moved to the Lakers.
That would be my favorite bet. Let me look that up. But like, I think the Bucks on the futures line. NBA futures are never good though. You know what I mean? Like they're never the greatest. Plus 425. So that's okay.
Yeah, well, because then you have the Nets. Whenever you have, it's like, let's make a deal. As long as there's at least 2 suitcases out there that could be the jackpot or close to it, the offer you're going to get from the bank is going to be decent. It's the same here. Can I give my?
No. It's 9-1 plus 900.
Yeah, because the Nets are the favorite, I think. And that's the betting favorite. Let's say that. So that's why
plus
you get
425 was Eastern Conference. Cool, very cool.
So even that for the Eastern Conference is not terrible. So let me throw this out there. My surprise team in the East to the upside and my disappointing team to the downside. I don't think the Knicks make the playoffs this year. there's my quote unquote hot take out of the East. I think you get teams like the Bulls are going to surprise to the upside. You know, I don't think that the Hornets are a tremendous team. I don't think they're the greatest team on earth, but a team like that staying healthy could potentially squeeze the Knicks out of the number 8 seed at the end of the year. You have a lot of teams at the bottom there that I think the Knicks are not better than. And we're talking about, like, if I were to tell you that the 8 teams that made the playoffs were the Bucks, the Nets, the Heat, the Sixers, the Celtics, the Hawks, the Bulls, and the Hornets, there's no Knicks there. And that's a reasonable 8, you know what I mean? So the Wizards could sneak in also, potentially. I mean, there's just not many players on the Wizards left, really. I mean, it's, you know, Bradley Beal goes out there and scores 100 points a game, sure, maybe. But
systems matter. This is where basketball is. I love this sport so much. Westbrook on the Wizards, he gets to showcase his best talent, right? He has all these young athletic guys like Daniel Gafford around him, and he could slash, he could get to the lane, it's open. Now he goes to a veteran team, an old team, a half-court team, a team that doesn't run and gun, and now all of his strengths are nullified. So I think it's one of those where this is a lose-lose scenario. The Wizards are going to be so much worse than they were. Kyle Kuzma. Yeah. And the Lakers are going to be worse because Westbrook's on it. Let's talk about the Bulls. The Bulls are a really exciting team.
Yeah, that's
Bulls are going to be
to the upside.
They're going to remind me of the Hawks of last year.
Yeah.
You know, not young team, but they're going to be tough. They're going to be gritty. And you know what, Cage? I'm a believer in the Bulls. I'm a believer in Lonzo, and I'm a seller on Patrick Williams. Here's why I'm a seller on Patrick Williams. When you bring in all those vets with money, you know, you kind of say, the rookie, you're going to play a little bit less minutes. We brought these guys in for a reason, right? So they're going to get more play. Lonzo is an interesting guy because I think he's going to benefit from all of the other guys on the team being really good. So no one invested in DeMar DeRozan. Even as much as we love Zach LaVine, we don't invest in his cards. Kobe White, all these guys. I think the biggest brand is Lonzo. And I actually think Lonzo cards stand a bit to gain if the whole team does well. He's going to be kind of maybe the Trae Young of that team. Is that fair to say? His shot looks incredibly better. I don't think that's the right word, but like his shot looks a lot better from where it was. He's a good point guard. I'm bullish on this Bulls team, not to win a championship, not even to get to the finals, but they're going to be a 4 to 6 seed as well.
Yes, middle. Yeah, you know that there's tampering investigations about Alonzo and Kyle Lowry going on right now too. It's pretty fun. I mean, that could be interesting. You know, no one likes to have that kind of drama hanging over their head. But you want me to tell you why I'm not a seller on Patrick Williams yet? Somebody has to be taller than 6'2" and play ball. You know, I mean, they have 4 guards basically. You know, I know they're not all guards, but you got Lonzo, Lowry, Kobe White, Zach LaVine. Somebody has to go get rebounds from these guys chucking the ball up out there.
Vujicic, though.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem that I have with the roster is it's almost like fantasy roster wise. You know what I mean? They put it together. It's like, who's the starting 5? Do they need a starting 5? Right? Is this one where it's going to be rotating and keeping everybody fresh? There's a lot of interchangeable pieces on the roster which could work and it might not work. You know, they tried tampering a little bit. Tampering is the funny word. They tried tinkering a little bit with Kobe White last year, and it wound up, being a negative. You know, making him a point guard, he was not. It didn't work well for him. But I mean, maybe he comes off the bench.
It's the equivalent of changing a guy coming up from the minors changing their bat swing, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just they have a lot of talent there. I'm curious to see how they play together because it's a lot of new talent. Even Patrick Williams has been there a year. You know, Lonzo's new to the quote-unquote system. You know, Kobe White was there, he's there 2 years. You know, Lonzo's new, Lowry's new. You know, LaVine is a young guy. He was my pick last year. If you guys listened to our preseason thing, I said LaVine was going to, go crazy, have a great score, be an all-star finally, work on getting more free throws was what he talked about in the preseason and going to the free throw line and shooting more free throws, and that'll help his scoring average. And it all came to fruition, last year. So I like the Bulls. I think they're a surprise to the upside. Disappointment, the Knicks. I think the Sixers and the Wizards are going to be disappointing also. I mean, it's easy play to say the Sixers just because they're in such a state of disarray.
I don't like how the roster's made up either. Like, They need a point guard. They need a Luka type of point guard that's a passer and a scorer. Not Luka's talent, obviously, but Dame was a great example of that. Maxey could have been that, but instead of using this whole break to have like a Embiid Maxey duo, they've just been messing with this whole Simmons situation, which has been an incredible distraction. And if you had Maxey and Embiid and you really built around that team and you put veterans around them, swingmen, a guy like Mikal Bridges would fit that system really well. In 2-3 years, they could be something because Embiid is young. However, they're kind of directionless, right? They have these vets with Tobias Harris and Danny Green, which you don't really know where they're going to fit into the future. Embiid is incredible, but you don't have a true point guard. And you don't have that scorer from the outside. It's disappointing, but it's the thing that the Hawks have. Trae Young has been getting better year over year over year. I would actually say this is the season I would be investing in Trae Young, right? Like a lot of people heard the hate and all that stuff that I had last year, but I believe the people that really listen to me, and again, I realize it's the 1%, since all of these 99 are just like here for entertainment, don't want to actually act on any of the advice and suggestions we give. The 1%, I would recommend Trae, because this is the season where all of that stuff from previous has been priced in. And I think if they get back to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I can't wait to see the Hawks versus the Heat. That's going to be a really, really fun series leading up to the Eastern Conference Finals because those two teams are going to battle it out. That's going to be a fun series. I think this is the season where you're going to see Trae put up 40-point games more consistently. You're going to see those like 40-point, 10-assist games. And I think his cards are going to be closer to price to Luka at the end of the year.
So what do you think about the Heat? I mean, the Heat get Lowry. I mean, I think I might even said his name when we talk about Chicago because he's lumped in the Lonzo Ball tampering investigations with the Lonzo with Chicago and Lowry with the Heat. You think the Heat get better with him? You think that was a good pickup for him? You think the Heat kind of returned to to what they were, what they did 2 years ago? Or you think it's a nothing deal, right? I mean, they also signed PJ Tucker, right? I mean, you want to talk about defense, right? Because defense wins championships.
That's going to be a big miss for the Bucks. That's going to be a big miss.
Yeah, Tucker, Bam, Jimmy Butler, Aiden, Kyle Lowry, and your boy Tyler Hero, who I should have even mentioned because all the other guys are really good. What about the Heat? You think the Heat can do some stuff this year?
It's funny you mention him, but he is actually one of the most important players on that Heat team because the rest of the guys are old. They are. Jimmy Butler. He's old. You know what you're getting from him. Kyle Lowry, he's old. You know what you're getting from him. Markieff Morris, old. You know what you're getting from him. Victor Oladipo, old. You don't even know if he's going to stay healthy, right? Bam, I do think Bam takes a huge step up this year. I think Bam takes a little bit of a step up. I think his potential is not that high, right? But you need a guy that could go off at any moment for 40, 50 a night. That's a big deal. Not saying that you're going to average 40, 50 a night, Cage. A guy that's a threat, right? You know this. A guy that's just a threat. Tatum is that threat. He's going to get you 20 to 25 points every game, but he could go off for 50. Jaylen Brown, he's going to get you 20 to 25, but he could catch fire and go off for 50. 40. Curry, Clay. That's what made that team so dangerous is, Clay could go off for 50, even though he's averaging 20. I don't know if the Heat have that guy. So what's going to happen, Cage, and you see this year over year, and I love the Heat organization, love Pat Riley, love Eric Spoelstra, tremendous respect. You're going to see this team get worn down as the season goes on. Because if you remember the Warriors, when they had that 73-9 season, what they did was they blew teams out, right? And that allowed Curry and Clay and Dre to sit the third quarter. Oh, not a big deal. It's a huge deal when it gets to the end of the season. The Heat, what happens is they play these games, grueling games, tight games, 104-102 versus the Hornets, 104-106 versus the Hawks. And that catches up to them. That causes injuries. That causes fatigue. And that is a big deal. So that's where I'm at with it. Like, I love this Heat team, but they need someone that could go off and really blow a game out for them so that they could rest their bench.
All right, so I'm going to give you some time to think about this. I'm going to give 3 bold predictions.
Am I not crushing this right now? I think I'm doing really good.
You're crushing it, but we can end with this, right? 3 what I call bold predictions. This is how we got
Guys,
our.
I'm sorry that I'm aggressive recently.
You're not sorry. Don't apologize for being you. It's okay. So this is how we got our Ohtani, not going to hit, home runs, not going to hit more than 15 home runs in the second half, and he only hit 13. Give you bold predictions. Guys, these are bold for a reason. They're not, no guarantees, no nothing, but they're fun predictions you think might actually come true, and they're quote-unquote bold predictions. I'm going to give 3, and you could think about 3 for yourself. Number 1, I think Lonzo Ball makes the All-Star team this year. I think they've put some pieces around him in Chicago. He has significantly underperformed. If he's ever going to perform, this is the season. His skill set is needed there. I think they're going to give him every opportunity to thrive and succeed. And I think bold prediction, Lonzo Ball makes the All-Star team. Okay?
I was going to say yes, but I think Levine is going to be their guy. And there's no way they're going to get 2
I think
guys
Levine
there.
already was their guy, and I think Lonzo now takes some of the spotlight off Levine. I think Levine actually takes a step backwards this year. I think Lonzo's overall stat line is going to be better. I think he's going to fill the stat line a bit. I think he can get a lot more assists out of him. I think the shot is herky jerky, but it actually falls. And I think Lonzo becomes a fan favorite in Chicago. And I think he becomes an all-star. Remember, bold prediction, right? I mean, I'm not going to say Levine. Levine was an all-star last year. It's not bold. 2.
So my bold prediction is the Bulls will have a All-Star. I'm leaning towards Zach Levine, but I do agree with you on Lonzo. Keep going.
So number 2, right? Number 2, bold prediction, and I'll have 3, and you could have 3 also. Number 2, this is not going to be bold to a lot of people, but it's going to sound bold coming from me, right? And when you factor in that he has 2 people on the team who could potentially outscore him, one being the MVP and one being somebody who is just instant offense. I'm going to say that Michael Porter Jr. averages more than 25 points per game this year. I'm going to say he leads the Denver Nuggets team in scoring, which is an impressive thing because like we said, we had Joker there. Jamal Murray is healthy and returning, but I think that's going to wind up creating easier looks for Porter. I've been told this enough times about his 44% from 3 last season and the fact that he finishes like 83% of his shots at the rim. Impressive for a guy who's only really played the 2 years, 1.5 years, whatever it can be. I think this is the year he stays healthy. I think he leads that team, a very good team, in scoring and scores and averages over 25 points per game this season. It's a bold prediction. Number 2. You want me to give my 3rd one? Then you can give yours?
Sure.
Bold prediction number 3. Okay? Bold prediction number 3 is because of the parity and because there are only 8 playoff spots and because the West is so good and everyone's going to be fighting over that 7-8 seed, teams like the Pelicans and the Trailblazers are not going to be in playoff contention and will become sellers. And you are going to hear Dame Lillard and Zion Williamson's name in trade rumors and maybe more. Maybe one of them actually gets traded this year. Dame, Zion. Legit.
I like that.
Trade
I like that.
talk.
I got a message from a fan, and he's a Portland guy. He watches his team. He was saying something similar, and he said, "Take a look at Anthony Simmons. He's very much an athletic 2-guard, 1-guard that can do some of the things that Dame can do, that they can build this organization around. And no one's paying attention to Anthony Simmons. His cards are pennies on the dollar. So there is some truth to that because." I mean, we've heard about this Portland team, blow it up, blow it up, blow it up, blow it up, blow it up. Eventually, you got to get something back for your assets. So I agree, man.
I mean, this is all about the Western Conference is deep, right? And you're talking about the Pelicans, the Grizzlies, the Trailblazers, like all these teams that were in that play-in game type of scenario last year. There's only 8 spots to go around. And if teams like the Warriors are improving the way you think they're going to be, I think you're going to have some legit trade chatter about Zion and Dame.
This is how narrative is. That people have to say that the Warriors are improving when they have the same 3 core players, 4 if you count Iguodala rolling in on his wheelchair, but the guy stands the test of time. And you know who they got that I think is going to be a really nice addition for them? Otto Porter Jr. That's going to be a really nice 8th man.
Well, people say they're improving only because, look, it's been quite some time since they played real competitive basketball. They missed the playoffs last year just on Curry's back. Clay attempted to come back from injury once and was injured again. It's been a while since Clay has proven that he can come out there and actually play and contribute. And all of them are another year older. So, yeah, I mean, the Warriors, if they get back to what they were, they'll be a great team. But that's a very big if after all this time. Curry's the only one that's not really an if because he's the only one who's continuing to do it the whole time.
So I don't make some bold predictions unless you have questions, but I think Anthony Edwards has a really big first quarter of the season, but I think actually he's going to be overshadowed by Karl Anthony Towns. I think Karl Anthony Towns is poised to have a really solid year. He's not the most likable in the hobby for some reason. Like his cards aren't that interesting to people, but this is a guy that was mentioned neck and neck with Joel Embiid. This guy was the number one pick. This is a guy that is a double-double and a triple-double machine, honestly. Like this guy, he's a good player, man. He's a really good player. And just because he was in Minnesota and they've had their front office mishaps and all that stuff, I think he's a guy that's going to have a big first half of the year. I think
I like it. I like Edwards, and I like Cat too. He's a cool cat. I mean, that's why the Timberwolves were one of my surprise to the upside teams this year. I think they have a lot of talent, and if that talent can gel and play well together, that's another team that could be vying for potentially a playoff spot. I don't think they actually make it, maybe, but I mean, right, like I said, for same reason why I think Portland's on the outside looking in, and why the Pelicans are also. There's only 8 spots, and the West is really good. This is fun, man. I appreciate it. This is a good time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this.
Cage, we got to go to Boston real quick. Celtics.
Okay.
We didn't talk about them at all.
I mentioned them as, they'll be a top 4 seed. But they are going to do what they always do, I think, which is, they'll play really good. And then when they play one of the teams that is better than them, whether it's the Nets, for some reason the Sixers had their number, but whether it's the Nets or the Bucks, they're not at that level yet.
But here's the thing with that. They're the one team, yes, they could bring in a Miles Turner and Pacers rebuilding team, but they're the one team we posted that 25 the best backcourt duos under 25.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, if they could take one little step up, both of them, right? Are these guys, maybe they meet with the Bucks in the finals.
Where they would be great? They'd be great in the West, where having 2 fantastic guards will get you through the playoffs, and there's not as much interior defense being played, right? And even the big guys in the West are offensive big guys, right? But when you run into an Embiid, who on the Celtics is playing Embiid down low? When you run into a Giannis, who on the Celtics is playing a Giannis down low? Even a Bam for the Heat. Like, who on the Celtics is – it's great. They have the guards, and those guards will win them some games. But ultimately where the Celtics falter is that interior offense, right? They fall victim to that big man playing defense, getting rebounds, not allowing second opportunities, and giving second opportunities to the team that they're playing against. So Tatum and Brown, they're a great young duo, and they can step their game up. But who else is stepping up for them? Who's playing big?
Dennis Schroeder. Marcus Smart, Al Horford,
all undersized. And Horford's 150 years old.
Why can't I ever remember this guy's name?
Who, Taco Fall?
No, not Taco Fall. Moses. Robert Williams is decent.
So Ian was, but he's a small big. I mean, he's not.
Moses Brown. That's who he played for. He was on OKC last year. He's an interesting guy. He's not a star, but he's someone.
Ian wants to ask you, when's the best day to buy Taco Fall cards? Tuesdays.
Bull
Tuesday. He was telling every dealer at the show that, and they pretended to laugh. Bull. Listen, the Celtics are a good team, and they'll be a top 4 seed. But in the East, you need somebody who can play with Giannis. You need somebody who can play inside. You need somebody who can disrupt Giannis inside, who can get you your second shots when they're not falling, who can get you another opportunity, get you an offensive rebound here and there. The Celtics just don't have it. That's the problem you have for them. Bull.
Let's come full circle. So I started this.
I'm ready to wrap it up
with knocking Ben Simmons out.
Yep.
A lot of people are probably discontinued listening. They unsubscribe. They don't like me. Fine. I get it. But I'm curious to hear your take on what you would do to solve that situation.
I would trade him. I would trade him. I'd trade him in a second. Yeah, sure. Shoot.
For who?
For anything.
Who?
It sucks because you have no bargaining power right now, right? And teams will try to fleece you, and that's probably what's going on and why they haven't gotten any trade and why their demands are so high. but you get to a point of sort of like you have to take what you can get. And is he going to increase his value going into the season with him not playing? Are they going to play him? I mean, I'll be in a better spot knowing. I mean, is that team going to play with him? Is he going to actually get into games? I can't wait to see what happens in this first week. Maybe he was out there plays and a team that needs him trades for him. But you have to move him for something. You know what I mean? You have to move for something, even if you're getting draft picks. That way you're not getting killed in the media because you don't know what that draft pick is going to be until next year. You got to get rid of him because, at this point, getting anything for him is going to be better for the team. It's just going to be, for as long as he's there, that's going to be the only story, right? It's going to be the only story in the locker room. I remember seeing something last week where they said, all right, they were sitting down and trying to make it work. And then that just died. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. It's, I'm not in there. I'm not talking to these guys. I'm definitely not trying to punch them in the face. But, it would seem that if it was something they could get done, they would have gotten it done, bringing him back into the fold. I mean, talk about, they gave him a max deal, right? I mean, he's a max deal player, right? I think they gave him a max deal. They took all the pressure off from him. He went out there, he, performed. He got his max deal. I mean, what else does the guy want from the organization?
So here's my next question. Let's just pretend that this isn't basketball. Let's talk NFL real quick. You do hear about a ton of training camp fights, right? A little bit less now, but in the
you
early
can cut an
2000s,
NFL player, though. NFL money is not guaranteed. They could just cut him.
I get it. I said pretend. So you hear about those training camp fights, right?
Yes.
It happens. I know we live in 2021. We have gotten a little bit more whatever, but this would happen a lot more. And doesn't that do something for the team culture? Like I've always felt that
it makes it violent.
Just
listen.
It could split. It could either bring a united team or it could really divide. So yes, it's a very egregious, it's very divisive, it's very polarizing as a move, but it does bring teams together because I'm not talking about the GM, I'm not talking about the front office, I'm not talking about the business. Imagine you're a player in that huddle and this guy just leaves the field. What does he tell you? How can you rely on that guy in a game?
Yeah, I mean that's problematic.
And he comes back into practice the next day.
Well,
the leader of that team comes in and says, "You do that shit again, we're going to have a problem. And if you do that shit again, we're going to have a big problem."
The front office has to read that room, right? And the front office has to know that if this guy walked out on the team is saying, "I'm not playing with this guy, I have no use for him," then you get what you can get and you move along. And I know that's a PR problem because he's going to go play probably for somebody else and come beat you and score 40 points against you. And it's like, why? How did we get rid of him? But at some point, you just got to get rid of the guy. You know what I mean?
You got to get something. Ben Simmons is going to score 40 points?
Yeah. When he comes
in
back
and
plays against Philadelphia.
Or in a season total?
Well, listen, if you think he's that bad that he's going to score 40 points in a season total, then the team should just cut him loose anyway. The team should just get rid of him.
Rewind. When I said, how could they be asking for Dame Lillard for Ben Simmons, that was laughable.
Yeah, but that's all posturing, man. It's posturing. It's like when we asked Coke to sponsor us, and I said they needed to give us $1 million and a freestyle soda machine in my bedroom. You ask for the moon. You ask for what you want to get, and then you settle on, okay, they're going to give me a 6-pack. I mean, this is how this works.
You ask for the moon, and you settle for the stars.
This was a fun one, guys. Enjoy the NBA. Talk to you soon.
Wait, you have the wait. All right, bye, Cage.